Here's what you learn from a bad experience with a client. I recently had a really bad experience with a client. It was my first bad experience since I launched as a freelancer last summer. And I will tell you what was the learning out of it. I specialize in branding and packaging, but I have extensive experience in other sides of design. And one of the things that I have experience in is creating graphics for apparel brands. I have done it in the past, but my experience showed that I was not happy with that type of project. And first of all, that's where learning number one came into play. I knew that this type of project doesn't make me happy. I knew that this type of project is full of back and forths and lots of stress, and also that normally it is low budget. But I went ahead with the project anyway. So I spoke to a small fashion brand that wanted to launch a new apparel collection anyway. And their collection, the style was something that I really knew I could achieve and that I could have some really nice designs for them. I understood the brief, I understood what they were looking for, and I was really happy to speak to them about the project and find out what they were looking for and also their budget and the timeline. Guess what? The timeline was very tight because they had a different designer that it didn't work out with them. Red flag number one. And they didn't share why. Red flag number two. So I asked what's the budget, and they said it's a very, very low budget. I said that because I really like what you're trying to do with your brand, and I know I can achieve something really good, we can minimize the type of design that you want, because initially they wanted a very detailed collection of illustrations that for this budget I don't think you can have. I'm sorry. But anyway, I decided to go ahead with the project, but I specified that because the budget is so tiny, I said I'm gonna work based on the budget. So that means that for this budget, I can work for you for 1.5 maximum day of design. The client agreed and they signed the design agreement that I have from the start. They paid the 50% deposit. And in the agreement, the exit clause is for both the client and the designer, and it states that, first of all, the deposit is non-refundable, you agree to that, and second of all, either parties can decide to terminate the project early for XYZ number of reasons, and one of the reasons is if we go back and forth on solutions and we cannot seem to find common ground and come to an agreement in the design. So one of us can say, look, it's not working out, we terminate the project. Guess what? This is what happened. It's the first project I actually decided to terminate. I was going back and forth in my head for a few days because it was stressing me out so much. Basically, I designed the first part of the designs. I sent back for feedback, and that I assumed it would be very minor tweaks because my designs were based on the mood board and requests of the client. The client came back to me for the first batch of designs saying it's a good start. So red flag number 3. We don't like it when we send you an almost finished design and you say it's a good start. No, I didn't send it as a start. I sent it as a project. Anyway, so I go through the first, what I think is the first and final tweak revision. I send back the revised designs and I receive more revisions. I receive more changes. I receive different changes from the first revision, which is not included in the agreement. And this kept happening. I kept correcting, I kept stating that, look, we have already changed it. This is what you asked. We didn't seem to come to an agreement. None of the designs were approved, and we were only halfway through the project, the designs that I was supposed to design for her. So after all this stress, after the thought, I decided, look, I'm going to send an email saying that unfortunately the project is not working, it's going out of scope. I have already worked about a day or even more than I quoted and agreed to work on, and we don't seem to come to an agreement. The project is not working out for either of us. Lesson number 4 is, if you have or you want to launch a fashion brand, you either know how to design the designs that you want to put on your apparel, or you choose a designer based on their skill set, their style. You give them a mood board. You don't expect them to copy the mood board and copy other people's designs, because I've been asked to do that as well in the past. And you give them creative freedom based on what you're looking for. You don't hire a designer and you assume that what you have in your mind, they can read it and translate it into their designs. And that's the big problem for me, and I think for many designers, when it comes to creating graphics especially for a fashion brand. When someone has or wants to have a fashion brand, there is no way they don't have a specific design idea in their mind. And guess what? Chances are they will not be able to give exactly the information they have in their minds to the designer, so that the designer creates exactly what they have in their mind. So it's either the designer creates something that they have understood from what you've said to them and the mood board, and you see it and you're like, you know what? I like it. Let's maybe change the font of this and be done with it, which is a very normal process. Or you learn how to design and you design exactly what you have in your mind, and you can fight over it with yourself. What is the point of creating a fashion brand if someone else creates the designs for you, right? I don't understand it. Make it make sense. I used to have a fashion brand. I was designing the designs on the t-shirts. The learning of all of this is, first of all, make the contract even more clear, like underline, highlight, make bold the fact that your deposit is non-refundable and you are allowed to terminate the project, keep the deposit if the project goes out of scope and you seem to not find a solution. Also, another learning is, if in the past you have worked on a type of project that was not making you happy, was full of revisions, was frustrating, was not your favorite thing to design, do not get this project, even if you are really struggling financially and you desperately want that project. It's not worth your mental health. Learning number 3, that's for the fashion apparel people. If you want to design a fashion brand and you want to design clothes, learn to at least put things together by yourself so that a designer can understand exactly what you are looking for and translate it into a finished design. That's all the learnings from me today. See you tomorrow.